Alright, what's up? Modern Philosopher back, and I'm talking about actions and reactions today. So, I just talked about in the last video Kingdom of Futures, how everything has a path. And so, what happens is when you go along one of those paths, you have now taken on a new direction. You're traveling in a new direction. So, when you take the action of choosing one of the paths, the reaction is what choices come after that. Does that make sense? So there's always an action and reaction in our kingdom, right? If you drop a ball, the ball is going to bounce. The action is dropping it. The reaction is the ball bouncing. Ray Bradbury wrote an incredible short story called The Butterfly Effect. And what it is well, even if you go back in time, one of the biggest issues of that, it's even in Going Back to the Future. It's the same idea that comes in that movie. When you go back in time, any actions you cause will result in a reaction in the present. So in Ray Bradbury's story, they go back in time to the dinosaur era, and unfortunately someone steps on a butterfly, right? And then when they come back to the future, there's a brand new president. There's a different president. Right? So every action has a reaction, and so the butterfly effect symbolizes that reaction. Something as small as stepping on a butterfly, killing a butterfly, could cause thousands, if not millions, to die. And that's an idea that a lot of people have taken and they've come across. So if everything has a reaction, morals and ethics fit in with finding the right reaction. So your action is going to have consequences, repercussions. That's just part of the cycle. You act and then you receive consequences. Those consequences are good or bad, and depending on the morals or ethics of the original decision, the consequences will mirror those responses, like karma, right? If you are nice to a lot of people, you're going to have a lot of good karma and you're going to receive a lot of good things, right? That's how karma works. It's a give and take, yin and yang type of thing. So action and reaction are important when we're thinking about ethics and morals. So when you're thinking, what is the right thing to do? The best thing to do is to think of the consequences. What are the consequences of this action going to be? So if you're walking a nice lady across the street, well, the consequences to you not doing that is, well, this old lady might not get across the street. And that's kind of morbid, but it's true. And so the other side of things, the positive side, if you do help her, then the consequences could be you benefiting her day and her benefiting your day. You're enlightening each other's days in a good way. And that's the importance of action-reaction. When you're thinking about morals, you A, have to think about what it is that your choice is, and B, whether or not which option is right or wrong, basically. And how you decide whether it's right or wrong is by looking at the consequences. I was looking at a quote earlier and I can't find it, but what it was basically about is how it related to karma and how everything that you do has an opposite and equal reaction. It fits in perfectly with Newton, right? Everything you do has an opposite and perfect reaction. That's his third law, right? This is something, the action-reaction is something that is everywhere. It's in science, it's in religion, it's everywhere. Do unto others as you wish to be done unto you, right? That's the golden rule. I think I've been taught that since I was a kindergartner. That's just something that everybody knows, right? Every action has a reaction. So now, with ethics, you have to decipher the reaction. And so going back, and I'm going to talk a little bit about existentialism now. Existentialism is the theory where you have free will and you make your own decisions, right? You are writing history as it goes, okay? So existentialists believe that the actions they make will have an immediate reaction, if that makes sense. Whenever you commit an action, it's by your own free will, and by your own free will you will also be committing the reaction. So that's existentialist point of view. And the opposite of the existentialist point of view is through empiricism and rationalism. You're trying to prove why things are the way that they are, right? Everything is already chosen for you, okay? Religion is more of an empirical or rationalist point of view, whereas science is more of an an existentialist point of view, if that makes sense. In science, you're making the decisions, and most scientists are existentialists. Most, not all. And then, whereas religion, there's a couple different points of view that religion has on existentialism. Existentialism can either be good or bad for religion. So, some people say God has put everybody here, and He has set life, and He's just let it go, right? That's the just the overwatcher, right? God has just sparked world and just let it go and live on its own. And that's the existentialist point of view of religion, and the opposite point of view is that God is controlling and He has put everything where it needs to be, and everything has happened according to God's plan. And there's actually a quote by Gottfried Wilhelm von Leibniz, if I say that properly. And everything happens the way it does because it must, and it must because God has chosen to make actual the best of all possible worlds, right? So that's the opposite of an existential point of view. Everything already is decided, and all we are doing is following the path. Now, in religion, a lot of issues come up because people say, okay, predestined. I am predestined to go to heaven, right? If I'm predestined to go to heaven, well, what's the point in acting virtuous and acting proper? It doesn't matter what I do in this world if I already know that I have no free will and I cannot choose which path I want to go on, whether I want to go to heaven or hell. It's already chosen for me. So why act virtuously in this world if it's already chosen for me? If I act virtuously and I go to hell, it's what was chosen. If I act poorly and I go to heaven, it was chosen before me. So why worry about it? Why not just act immorally? And so that's one of the biggest issues when it comes to existentialism. And so it's not morally or ethically good to just give up and act against the moral consciousness of society, right? And so you need to basically forget about free will if you want to come up with morals and ethics, because free will is like a parasite to it. If you have free will, then you act in a certain way, and it makes people think that they act in a certain way. So if people perceive morals and ethics knowing that they have free will, they're going to think about it differently than if they know that they don't have free will. So free will is an ambiguous topic, and it goes along with perspective changes. And perspective changes is something I'm going to talk about later. But morals and ethics are very, very individualistic. And everybody has their own perspective on the world. They all have their own perspective of what's right or wrong. And so as a society, we come up with moral, everybody, for the most part, agrees with these morals or these ethics. And that's why we follow them. That's basically how morals come about. But morals are still individualistic because different societies are different than others. So different societies are going to have different morals and ethics than other societies. So that's what I was going to talk about for that video. The action-reaction and the effect of existentialism and free will on morals and ethics. Next episode, I'm going to talk a little bit more about Immanuel Kant and his categorical imperative and how that relates to morals and ethics. Alright, if you guys like this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and go ahead and follow me on Twitter, Google+, whatever. Alright, that was today's Daily Enlightenment, and we'll see you guys next time.